I'm going to recommend to the court that Shauna get custody of her daughter.
So you gotta be joking.
The last of the big 3 special episodes has arrived, this time focusing on Randall, and as expected, it's a tearjerker. So let's break down number 3 right here on What Happened. How's it going, you lovely people, and welcome back to another This Is Us recap, all about Season 2, Episode 10, which serves as the fall finale or mid-season break. The show will return on January 2nd, and I know that seems so far away, but hopefully when it comes back, it'll give us some answers to the big questions we're left with at the end of this current episode. Like, will Deja ever come back and visit? Will Randall and Beth get another foster child, this time maybe a boy? How will they handle what happens with Kevin and Tess and all of that at the end of the episode? So let's get to explaining this episode so you can understand what all that rambling was about. The episode opens up once again with the footage of the big 3 learning to walk. Knowing Randall, it's not surprising that he not only learns to walk, but also learns to talk. Yeah, outdoing the other 2. In the past timeline, we have Randall trying to figure out what college he wants to attend. He's been filling out all the Ivy League applications for schools like Harvard and Stanford, but that's not really where he seems like he wants to go. He really wants to check out another school, and that's Howard University, which is a predominantly African-American college in DC. He seems maybe a little hesitant about asking because Jack seems pretty set on Randall going to an Ivy League school, even calling Randall Ivy League, but Jack does agree to take Randall to visit Howard. At the school visit, instead of taking the sanctioned tour, Randall goes off with his buddy Keith to kind of get the real tour of the campus, while Jack stays and goes with the regular campus tour. Watching Randall tour the school, he just seems super happy and excited and like he fits in there. When they meet back up and it's time to go home, Randall tells Jack in the car how much he really liked the school, and when Randall asks Jack how he liked it, Jack just says it was great, but you know, his voice doesn't sound completely sold on this school. Jack then brings up something that happened back on the campus. He points out how when they met back up, Randall hesitated at first introducing Jack to his friends. Jack then says he gets it and how it must feel for Randall to be with new people who don't know him or their family. Randall then tries to tell a joke by saying, he didn't hesitate because Jack was white, it was because Jack's old. Randall points out though that the way Jack probably felt at Howard and in that moment of hesitation is kind of how Randall feels all the time, and he feels like he's always off balance and things are more complicated with him. So being at Howard, he really felt like he was in a place where he was supposed to be. Jack then has an idea, and the 2 take a detour to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, where Jack opens up a little, kind of like a sliver about the war, and how he was drafted at 25 and his life changed that day. He saw a lot of things in the war that even Rebecca doesn't know the truth about. Jack then says when he came back from the war, he also felt off balance, and that's just what happens. And Randall will find his balance, then lose it, then find it again. It's kind of part of the ride or part of life. Jack reassures Randall though that even though he might not be around for all Randall's life decisions, he knows Randall will make spectacular ones and to own it and run with it because Randall is a spectacular person. This storyline then comes back at the end of the episode and intertwines with kind of the big ending moment, so I'll come back to it then. In the present day, Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and that means family, lots of food, and Police Academy 4 for the Pearson household, and Randall is stoked. Deja is busy in her room practicing her school presentation on photosynthesis and plants when Randall comes to check on her and throws in some of his typical corny dad humor. Randall tells Deja he's had fun working on the project with her and he's proud of her, and when Deja doesn't immediately answer back, Randall does the whole, I'll answer for her, and it's like, I had fun too, foster dad. Deja does crack a smile, but then tells him to not say foster dad because that sounds stupid. Deja then says she thinks she's going to be made fun of by other kids for how hard she worked on this project, but Randall, he gives her a good life lesson because we all know he's always worked hard. He's been made fun of it at times for it, especially from his own siblings. So he knows this area best. He says hard work gets you the fancy cars and big houses. Yeah, it's like all those kids that were nerds that you kind of made fun of are the ones that are now your bosses running, the companies and all of that. Their kind of sweet moment is interrupted when they hear arguing outside, and it's Beth and Deja's mom, Shauna. Shauna's been released from jail because the charges brought against her have been dropped, so she headed straight to the Pearson house to try to get Deja back. Now she's like getting all up in Beth's face, and you know Beth, she is not backing down. So it's kind of a scream fest, and it's so loud that even the neighbors come to check to make sure everything is okay. Beth and Randall really can't seem to calm Shauna down, and it's actually Deja who comes outside and kind of takes on the mature role, telling her mom, you know this isn't how it works, and you gotta wait, and do everything through social worker Linda. She tells her mom to be patient and to go home and wait until Linda calls her back, so Shauna ends up listening to Deja. When Linda is over the next day, she explains why the charges against Shauna were dropped and how she thinks Shauna actually does have her life back in order and her apartment is in good shape. There's, food in the fridge, so she's going to recommend to the court that Shauna get custody of Deja. Now, Randall and Beth, they're a little caught off guard by Linda's sudden kind of backing of Shauna. After seeing Shauna act the way she did, the night before or whenever it was, the two don't want Deja to go back with Shauna. Now, Linda tries to explain to them that, there's no science to how all this foster thing works and how making a decision of whether a child should go back to their parent, works, but she thinks Shauna is ready. Linda then thinks maybe Randall and Beth kind of forgot what they signed up for and are too attached and they just can't let go of Deja. But the two of them reassure Linda that that's not what's happening, and they tell Linda they're going to fight this decision because they don't think that Shauna is fit to take care of Deja. Later, Randall drops Deja off at school, and when she asks if they've heard back from Linda, Randall actually lies to her, saying not yet, but he and Beth will be back at 2:30 to watch her presentation. Now, as he's sitting in the car, he then remembers the previous Thanksgiving, which of course was kind of a crazy one because he found out that Rebecca had known who his father was all along. We get a flashback of Randall and William, and we kind of learn something new. William once actually stood on the lawn of the Pearson house and was going to see Randall when Randall was a kid. We know that Rebecca went to see William twice, and the second time was when Randall was about 9 or 10, and William thinks that he might have been too excited at the possibility of meeting Randall and being part of his life that it scared Rebecca off because she disappeared from his apartment. William then used the only money he had, $20, to take a cab and follow Rebecca. He was about to knock on the front door of their house, and we see what he thinks life would have been like if he had knocked and if everything had kind of been picture perfect. William would have been a part of a lot of Randall's big life moments. And William, though, doesn't end up knocking on the door because he looks over and sees the big three's bicycles with their little license plate that say, number 1, 2, and 3, and he realizes he doesn't know which one would be Randall's or what Randall's nicknames even would be, and he kind of has a realization about who was he to insert himself into Randall's life against Rebecca's wishes. So instead of knocking on the door, he walked away. Now, remembering all of this actually helps Randall in coming to terms with what to do about Deja and Shauna. He drives over to Shauna's apartment and kind of spies on her in a sense, watching her from his car as he sees where she lives, the neighborhood, and he even sees Shauna showing the neighbor new clothes that she bought for Deja, which are purple. Now, just as William saw the kids' bikes and realized he didn't know if Randall had a nickname and all of this, Randall realizes he really has no idea, what Deja's favorite color is and if she had cool nicknames. He doesn't really know her in the sense that her mother knows her. There was this whole world that Deja had before him. He then tells Beth as they wait to go into Deja's classroom that Deja should go live with Shauna, and Beth actually says she was unsure the whole time as well. Randall also brings up his love for the game Pac-Man and how life is kind of like that game where, it's the same game over and over with the same board and same ghosts that come back to kind of haunt you, and sometimes you get lots of cherries and you kind of forget those ghosts or things go well, but eventually those same ghosts catch up with you. The two then go to watch Deja's presentation, and she even gives a shout out to Randall, who she calls her foster dad, and how he helped her with the whole thing. And you can see in that moment just how proud Randall is. And I think he realizes there he has made an impact on Deja's life. It wasn't all for nothing, and she's leaving their house better than she was when she came in. When they return home, Randall gets a call from Kevin who says he's on his way to the house. Meanwhile, Randall, Beth, and the girls get Deja's stuff ready for her to leave, and it's kind of emotional parting. Deja's whole goodbye with Randall and Beth outside, though, is even more emotional, and that's kind of really when the tissues are needed. Randall tells Shauna that if they ever need anything, even if it's just help with homework, he's only a call away, and he'd even make that drive to Newark. And Shauna, she says thanks, but pretty much says that they're good from here on out. They don't really need them. The moment that really got me, though, is when Deja says that she really did like living with Randall and their family, and then she actually, lets him hug her. And she also repeats back his great advice about working hard to get the big house and the fancy car. In just the short amount of time that we saw Deja with Randall and Beth, she totally grew as, a character, and quickly became kind of one of my favorites. I liked the journey that she was going on. So I am kind of hoping that she stays friends with Randall and Beth, and that she might pop up in the future. So that's a nice closure to this whole Deja storyline. And after this, we catch up to the point in time where the first 2 Big 3 episodes also ended. Randall gets the call from Rebecca about Kate. Kevin shows up to tell Randall that he needs help when Randall tells him about Kate's miscarriage. We then see what happens after that. Kevin grabs vodka from the fridge to add to his orange juice, and Randall points out just how bad Kevin looks and how it's kind of early for alcohol. And Kevin, knowing Kevin, he has excuses. We then see Kevin say hi to the girls and tell them that, he's actually going to leave. He's trying to find, his bag. After getting off the phone with Kate, Randall fills Beth in on how Kate is doing okay now and actually wants to try again for another baby at some point. And this is actually kind of inspiring to Randall, as both Randall and Beth decide that they actually want to try to foster again. Of course, maybe not in the next, day or even the next month, but they know that there's another kid out there who needs them. Even if it means that they have to lose them again, it'll all be worth it. Randall, of course, then says that he's hoping for a boy. And then we flash to another scene where we see this adorable little boy who I just want to pinch his cheeks because he looks so cute. And he's waiting and talking to what looks like his social worker, who says that they're working on getting him a home. So I'm guessing that this little boy will pop up again. And I'm kind of excited to see how Randall handles a little boy, because obviously his whole house is full of estrogen. So it'll be fun to see, and I hope that actually happens. We then get the ending, which has the present day mixed with the flashback. Randall asks Jack in the hospital if Kevin's going to be alright, and we see Jack explain that things are going to be different for Kevin now, and that, there's always a blind spot when it comes to the Big 3. It seems like whenever one is having a good time, something happens to one of the others, and it makes Jack realize that maybe he should have been looking in the other direction. It's been like that ever since the Big 3 were babies, and it's like when one falls down, the others are standing up, which in this case, the scenes that we get during this montage confirm that. We have Kate and Toby, who have come to terms with their tragic events, as well as Beth and Randall, who got closure when it comes to Deja. So both of these Big 3 are standing up. They're on the verge of being happy, while we see Kevin falling down. And not just falling down, like falling way, way down, to a point even lower than when we saw him screaming for his necklace on that lady's lawn. He gets in his car and we see Randall not able to find Tess back at the house. Kevin is speeding, and surprise, Tess pops out of the back seat and kind of tells him to slow down, and then we see the cops pull up behind Kevin's car, and Beth and Randall get a call that Tess is okay, but Kevin's actually been arrested for a DUI, and they both say they're going to kill Kevin, which we know means not literally kill him, but Beth and Randall, they're probably going to come pretty close to it, because you know what, Kevin put one of their babies in danger. The very end of the episode shows the Pearson family in the flashback all sitting together, happy, kind of in the living room, and Jack walks in and just looks at them and smiles, and it's like he's proud of his family. We then see that Randall is playing another game of Pac-Man, his favorite game, on the TV, but the screen says game over, dun dun dun, which I kind of think means that Jack probably dies not long after that day, like it might be foreshadowing, because why wouldn't we see, Randall just playing Pac-Man and being happy? There's emphasis on that game over screen. Alright, so that wraps up the episode, and in it we got to wrap up the Pearson-Deja storyline in a very satisfying way. It felt very realistic. As much as I would have loved to see Deja, stay with Randall and Beth, what we got was so much growth between all the characters involved in that storyline. I feel like even with Shauna. Things don't seem too happy though for all the Pearsons, as we saw when Tess was in the car with Kevin, she told him that she just wanted to hang out with him because she hates her house. Well, we saw Tess hug Deja, and it seemed pretty emotional that Deja was leaving, but it seems like maybe Tess has been hiding some of her own feelings and her parents haven't noticed. Why does she hate her own house? Is it because that Deja came in and maybe kind of in a sense overshadowed her, pushed Tess out in a way? That'll definitely be something I think that's going to be explored coming forward. For Kevin, he's finally getting his big wake-up call, because it would be one thing if he had gotten a DUI, but the fact that his niece, who really looks up to him, was also in the car and he was so out of it, he didn't even notice she was in the car. Yeah, I think this is the really, rock bottom dark moment for Kevin that's going to help him turn his life around. And he's an actor. The news of the DUI is going to get out, so that's really not going to help his career. So he's really going to have to start rebuilding everything from the bottom up. I'm not going to lie though, for a second I thought that the show was going to end on this kind of big cliffhanger with Kevin not getting a DUI, but Kevin and Tess getting in some kind of accident with someone's life hanging in the balance. And I'm actually thankful that they didn't do that to us. I also have to say I love all of the Jack and Randall moments in this episode, and I love seeing Jack open up and even if it's just kind of a sliver, trusting Randall with, what he's feeling at the time, or big moments from his life. Like, these two seem to have the most trusting and deep connection out of the big three. I mean, sure, we know that Jack was close with Kate, but it wasn't really on the sharing emotions level or big moments. It was more of, Jack really looking out for Kate, kind of in a sense babying her and kind of being her hero in a sense. And then for Kevin, Jack's a bit more tough on him, and Kevin looks up to Jack like a hero too, but they don't connect emotionally. As far as clues as to how Jack died, which we know we'll get, that big answer by the end of the season, we have the faulty fuse, which was in a scene that was highlighted in all 3 of the big 3 episodes. Now, we know somehow the family house burned down, and a lot of you have commented that you think that fuse and the whole power scene, that power going out, is probably part of it, like it has something to do with it. We also have the emphasis on the game over screen from Randall's Pac-Man game, so it seems like, Jack's death is taking place pretty soon. Now we just gotta sit and wait for more clues. Well, This Is Us returns January 2nd, which I know seems like it's so far away from right now, so to hold us all over, let's just have a huge discussion and party down in the comments. Let me know all your thoughts about this Randall-centric episode, and maybe which of the big 3 episodes were your favorite. Do you think Beth and Randall ended up making the right decision with Deja? What do you think is going to happen with Kevin and DUI, and why do you think Tess actually hates her home? Any new ideas on Jack's death? Spill it all down below, and then after that you can check out my recap of this week's episode of Marvel's Runaways, or find out where all the Easter eggs were in Pixar's Coco. I'm Lisa, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you soon.